CBS News and YouGov are out with some absolutely ridiculous new polling numbers that I have to share with you. Listen, some of this stuff is inexplicable. So let's start with this. What percentage of Republicans say the United States is dealing with coronavirus well? Guess in your head before I say it. The answer is 73%. 73% of Republican voters say the U.S. is dealing with COVID well. Now, what percentage of the entire country? Only 38% of the country says we're handling it well, but 73% of Republicans. What planet are these people on? I got more for you. 57% of Republicans say coronavirus deaths have been, quote, acceptable. There's 170,000 deaths and quickly rising. That's acceptable? Would that have been acceptable under Obama if 170,000 Americans died from a virus under Obama? Would you think they would have found that acceptable? More than half of Republicans say it's acceptable to have 170,000 people die because of a virus. And don't get it twisted, our response was abysmal. We definitely could have reduced that number. We could have more than cut that number in half with just intelligent policy. Okay, but now, I think it might even get crazier here. When it comes to the condition of the economy, 67% of Republicans say it's good. I don't know how to respond to that. I do not know how to respond to that. Before the pandemic, you had 80% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Half of American workers making $30,000 a year or less. That was before the pandemic. 32% of Americans couldn't make their housing payment last month. 32%. We're on the brink of 28 million homeless people. %67% of Republicans say the economy is in good shape. That's just, you're renting your mind out to the Republican establishment and to Donald Trump. You are willing to just turn off your critical thinking abilities and say, it's my team. This is, I've never seen better evidence of tribalism. This is the best evidence I've ever seen for tribalism trumping, no pun intended, empirical reality. We're learning a lot with these numbers, man. By the way, what percentage of all voters say the economy is in good shape? 35%. 35%. So that's the 35% that, I call TFGs, too far gones. You're not going to get through to them. No matter how much you are clear, hey, I want to help you, I want to fix the system, I want to make it better. They're just brain off. Are you a Republican? No, not interested. Okay. Final one for you. Is America better off than 4 years ago? 75% of Republicans say yes. And just 35% of the entire country. Guys, we're learning a lot, man. I'm telling you, these numbers tell me a lot. It tells me that about 35% of the country are TFGs. If I want to be extra kind, 30% of the country. Listen, here's the point. If you can't say now that we're not better off than 4 years ago, that the economy isn't in good shape, that this COVID is unacceptable, if you can't say this, then there is no set of facts wherein you would change your mind. There's just no set of facts. If it was 2 million dead from the virus under Trump, these numbers would be exactly the same. Exactly the same. Because if you're willing to disregard 170,000, you're willing to disregard 2 million. Listen, the actual unemployment rate is about 20%. We've surpassed the Great Recession. We've surpassed the Great Recession. So we're flirting with depression. Even the people who have jobs are taking wage cuts. If you can't look at this state of affairs and say, something's off, then there's just literally no instance in which you would say something's off. The official unemployment rate could be, or the real unemployment rate could be 50%. And you'd find a way to make an excuse and say, no, we're better off. And by the way, one more number for you. Of the people who say, the economy's in good shape and we're better off than 4 years ago and the COVID stuff is acceptable, 82% of them say because of Trump. So in other words, forget all the negative stuff. Trump is a positive. Trump is a net benefit. He's the reason why the 170,000 deaths are okay. So it's 82% that are just like, I'm renting my brain to the overlord. I find this is honestly one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. It really is. If you take anything away from this show, it has to be that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to be willing to put aside the partisanship, put aside the tribalism, and view things objectively and on a case-by-case basis. You know, like evaluate things with a standard in mind. These guys don't have a standard. Their standard is Trump is good and I will work backwards from that conclusion. Well, then you're just a joke if that's the case. You're not a serious person. And honestly, it's deeply authoritarian too, because it's like, just give me the strong leader and I'll shut up. Just give me the strong leader who I like and I will play defense all day long for that strong leader. That's how these people think. We got to be better than that. We have to think about things, objectively and with standards in mind. This does not bode well for the future of the country, too, by the way. Just so everybody understands, tens of millions of people have lost their health insurance. There were 7 to 9 million that already lost their health insurance under Trump pre-COVID. Now, post-COVID, it's tens of millions. And that's another thing that, if you talk to these people about it, they'd be like, we're still better off than when those people had health insurance. So there is no getting through to some segment of the population. Now, by the way, let me tell you the implication of that. Because the implication of that is not throw your hands up and say, forget it, and just shame these people or spit in their eye nonstop. No. Really, it's just recognizing a TFG when there is a TFG. But I've always been of the belief that anybody who is not a TFG, yes, you work hard to get them to come to your side, to get them to agree with your values and your policies, and you engage and you interact and you make your case. And eventually, yes, some people you can change their minds. Others you can't. But anybody whose mind is changeable, you should try to change. So that's my general approach here. But listen, these numbers are just absolutely shocking and overwhelming. Let's not get it twisted. Now, by the way, if we were looking at a situation where it was a Democratic president and a bunch of terrible things happened and you poll Democrats, would you see some segment of the Democratic base that's like, I will never abandon the Democratic president? Yes, you absolutely would. It wouldn't be as high as the numbers for Republicans. They're a little less sycophantic, but yes, there are plenty of sycophantic ones in the Democratic Party too. And that's dumb as well. So for the love of God, look at the issues, look at the numbers, care about the issues, care about the numbers, acknowledge the plain-faced reality, because the only way we're going to fix stuff is if we're aware when something is a problem. And this is just, this just hurts. I wouldn't be surprised, man. Plenty of these people probably have no money, nothing in the bank, can't pay the bills, and they're still, telling the pollster, everything's good. Better off now than we were 4 years ago. Economy's in good shape. 170,000 deaths are fine. Yeah, this poll gives me more despair than a lot of stuff that I've seen in the past year. This is bad.